All right, stock market got smashed today, right? If you look at the Dow's down 266 points, Nasdaq's down 3%, right? And S&P is down 2%. These are huge moves to the downside. The other day the markets went up, right? But now it's, I think, going back to reality. If you look at the Nasdaq, right? What's in the Nasdaq? Some of the high flyers, tech high flyers. You have the biotechs, right? And I did some videos saying that, hey, guess what? It just seems that the dumb money is getting into biotech. Does that mean that we've seen the top for it? I said no. But the probability in my mind was that these stocks had a lot more further to the downside than to the upside in the next few years. And yeah, some of the tech high flyers, I was dumb enough to buy one of them, I think last week, just as a hedge because I had a lot of short positions. I still have some short positions right now, and that's good I did because that's why I'm doing somewhat alright compared to if I didn't have those short positions. But when you see all of these individuals in the mainstream media, right? They have negative headlines about the stock market, this and that, saying stocks could continue to lose ground. But I don't see them talking about, in my opinion, what was the obvious reason why the stock market went down today, and I'll get into it. Alright, look at this dollar yen chart, right? You see over here how the yen appreciated against the dollar. I'm going to show you a large graph of, not a large graph of this, but as you can see over here, let's look at this. Okay, hopefully this is big enough so you could see. If you can't see, press Control and plus at the same time, or enlarge your YouTube screen. If you look at this, this is brought to you by Yahoo Finance. So as of like yesterday night in Japan, right? If you look at the dollar yen, it's like 102. And then like today it went to like 101 point like 48, something around there. So what does that mean, right? When it's going down, the dollar yen, that means the Japanese yen is appreciating against the US dollar. Okay? Talked about this many times. And when you see that, that usually means that the yen carry trade is unwinding. It's not unwinding like you did when you saw in 2008, where you saw a huge appreciation of the yen versus the dollar. But let's look at this chart that I've compiled up for the past 3-4 months. Alright, I was working on this earlier today. I do have graphs from 2011 to 2014 up to today, but I thought I emailed that to myself, so I don't have it on me right now. But I'll show you that graph later on. But let's just look at it day by day. The dollar yen versus the Dow, right? The red represents the Dow as of earlier this year, starting from January 2nd, and the blue represents the dollar yen. And if you can look at this graph, right, it's not exactly correlated, but you can see how these two indices, or the dollar yen, goes hand in hand with the Dow thus far. And the explanation behind this, once again, is that when you see the appreciation of the yen, like it was like 104-ish, right? And right now it's like 101.50, something like that. So that means that the currency is getting stronger and people are deleveraging. So the weaker the currency gets, like you saw as of December, you tend to see a lot of leverage in the system. And in my opinion, where did that money go? Yes, it went to the Dow, but in my opinion, a lot of it went to these high flyer stocks like the Facebooks, the Twitters, you could even say some of these stocks like Google and Priceline, especially the biotech indices, which I state that they're in a bubble. And I am short one biotech stock, REGN. I got back into a short yesterday when it hit 306. Now I wonder whether this rally is going to continue, or this short selling rally is going to continue. We shall see. But anyways, so what's going on with this trade? So the stronger the currency gets, meaning that the lower this number is, right? The lower this yen is, and that means that there's less liquidity coming into the market. In my opinion, the last few years, why the stock market has gone up to the extent that it has, sure, you have companies beating on earnings. Sure, you have companies buying back their stock with easy money from the Fed. And they're beating earnings, but there's also another source of liquidity, and in my opinion, it's coming from this dollar yen chart. The weaker it gets, like you saw from 2011, where the dollar yen was 76, and then it went to 105 last year. And I thought to myself, okay, this is not going to continue on in a straight line. And so far, it looks like we have further moved to the downside for this dollar yen. Why do I say that? Well, the Japanese have introduced a sales tax. And initially, you're going to see an appreciation of the yen versus the dollar, because that's how markets usually work when you raise taxes. Whether you like it or not, you tend to see some deleveraging going on, in my opinion. Now, one person asked me, so what the hell does the yen, or what does the yen have to deal with the market going up? I mean, a good point was that, hey, you have an aging Japanese population, this and that, big government policies. Yeah, but at the end of the day, they have all this money printing via the yen, right? Where's that yen going? Or where's that liquidity from the yen going? It went to the Nikkei, which right now is getting killed as I'm speaking right now. And it went into the US stock market. Why would it go into the US stock market? Well, you have to remember that the yen is the carry trade. It is a low interest rate currency. If you look at their 10-year, it's like 60 some basis points, right? So it's a low interest rate currency. So they invest in a higher interest rate currency, or in a country that has a higher interest rate currency, such as the US dollar, right? So they invest in US dollar denominated assets. So they can make money off the spread because they could borrow in easy terms, borrow low, and then invest in higher proceeds. And then they could take those proceeds and, hey, they made a lot of money via this margin. But when you start to see the unwinding of this carry trade, right? When the currency gets stronger, then what that means is that you tend to see the market throwing up like we do right now. And this is really interesting on where the market could go. But anyways, this is something to note. The dollar yen chart has a high correlation to the stock market. But the fact is, I'm talking about it now. I've been talking a lot about this, and even since last year, but it just seems that one of these days, this trend is going to break down. Just wanted to show you guys a little up close on the day-to-day basis from early this year to April 2014 on how this yen carry trade, in my opinion, is a big reason on why we see moves to the upside, moves to the downside. Last thing actually I wanted to touch base on is I saw the dollar yen actually, it was down like 30, it was down 0.30 today. And I was wondering, why is the Dow positive right now? Shouldn't the Dow be negative? And next thing I know, the Dow is down like 266 points, right? So, really interesting. No one's really talking about it unless they're sophisticated traders. And I'm trying to get on one individual from this channel that I do follow that always keeps on talking about the same thing I'm talking about. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. Talk to you later. Bye.